Tommy Boyds.
What with satellite weather and the space station and that plane crash, things in the air, I could hardly forget that later on this afternoon we're going to be taking Star Trek and the Starship Enterprise, but most of all those Trekkie people, to pieces bit by bit and not assembling them afterwards.
The name of this radio station is Talk Radio. Write it down. Tommy Boyds.
Good afternoon. Between now and 4, come on, Star Trek. What kind of madness is that? Is it madness in itself? Is it indicative of a kind of a madness that all too many people on this planet, or at least in the West, suffer from? Or is it in itself a cause of madness? It's a chicken and egg thing. Or does it just go round and round in circles? This self-engendering lunacy. Lunacy, which is Star Trek. And very dangerous it is too. We'll get to that in just a second. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I can scarcely remember what life was like on this planet before Star Trek. What I know, and what it makes me hang my head in shame and in sadness, is that the whole of the rest of my life and your children's lives will be spent in the shadow of this ludicrous form of light entertainment. If that's what it is. Because tragically for so many people, mainly lonely young men, but it affects others as well, it's a type of religion. And that's where it gets dangerous. But we'll come on to that in just a second. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Let's be honest. Let's not beat about the bush. Star Trek is alone in that it is, so much rubbish. So unrealistic. This is 1997, and yet still there are no lavatories on the Starship Enterprise. There's no gravity machine. If there was a gravity machine, it would be in the middle of the Starship Enterprise, in which case people on the ground floor in the cargo hold would be walking on the ceiling. You don't even need an O-level in physics to understand what a load of old rubbish Star Trek has to be. Talking about rubbish, what do they do with their rubbish on Star Trek? Now that it's on to the next generation and there's Deep Space Nine and so many spin-offs and satellite shows, all from the same stable Star Trek, and not one of them is remotely realistic or sensible. Not one of them. In not one episode does nothing much happen for 5 minutes, which is what real life is all about, especially if you're in outer space. Ask the poor dudes up on Mir. They spend their life up there doing nothing. That's what space is like. There's nothing out there. There are no solutions, no answers, no interest, no excitement. In all probability, no life forms, or if there are any life forms, they'll either be too big or too small or too irrelevant or too single-celled for them to have any bearing at all on what really matters, which is down here on planet Earth. The special effects in Star Trek are appalling, useless. The acting in Star Trek is appalling. It's worse than useless. It's not even wooden. It's not even that good. Star Trek is no good whatsoever. When you think that back in medieval times, William Shakespeare was coming up with that, and the best writers in the world, because they pay the biggest bucks on Star Trek, can't come up with plots which are more substantial than the ones that we get. The plots are thin, the characters are unreal. The symbolism in Star Trek is so heavy-handed, and yet you still do get these little fellows who go around saying, oh, you see, the thing about Star Trek is that all the crew on the Starship Enterprise represent humanity, and humanity's never-ending quest for some meaning in life or a heaven. Yeah, I know. We know that. But it's still rubbish. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Will Star Trek come true? I met a man once who believed that the mobile phone owed its existence to the phaser and Star Trek. He really believed that if it hadn't been for Star Trek, nobody would have had the idea of a phone that doesn't have a wire attached to it. Will Star Trek come true? No. In no way. Why? Because space is too far. It is too big. The planets are too far away. It's as simple as that. Even the nearest planet is too far for us to get to. And it's too dead when we get there, and we know that. They are just lumps of rock. You can get them on Earth, as indeed can you get real solutions to real problems, real answers to real questions. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I honestly believe that the whole Star Trek phenomena, the whole syndrome, is part of a gigantic mental illness which in America they're starting to call UFORIA. Yes, UFORIA. Euphoria in the United States, and it's happening in this country, is the dominant counterculture. That is to say, anybody who doesn't like things the way they are, instead of doing something about it, which is what used to happen, now disappear into their bedrooms and watch videos of Star Trek. The consequence of this could be that humanity will stand still for the rest of its existence. And that is tragic. Interestingly enough, in the United States, they're also talking about another form of PMT, which is fueling the Star Trek euphoria. And that's called premillennial tension. As we head towards the year 2000 and all its various possible significances, more and more people are looking to the skies for solutions, as they have done since the Bible, looking to the skies for solutions, whilst we all know that the solutions lie here on terra firma. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Is Star Trek dangerous? Yes. Simply because it engenders this complacency about the future. Because young men look at the year, whatever Star Trek is set, 2200 and something or other, and say, well, look, it's all right then. The world comes together, there are no more world wars, and they conquer disease. And they all find contentment and happiness. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But one thing we can be certain about is you've got to work for it. And Star Trek just makes you lazy. Lazy in your belief that the essential truths are up there and not down here. And that it falls to other people to pursue those essential truths. Now, I know Star Trek is a form of escapism. Okay, I'm not naive. I know that you can watch an episode of Star Trek and then when the closing credits roll, you can get on with your real life. But I'm afraid that the accumulation of this culture, this subculture which is Star Trek, is so colossal that people are beginning to gently believe that not only is that what it might be like, but that is possibly what it really is like, and it ain't. Life ain't like that. Free call 0500 10 53 89. What is the real reason Star Trek is so popular? What is the one saving grace that Star Trek has? I'll tell you, it's the merchandise. The stuff that you can buy. That is tangible, that is real, that is here, and there are real lessons to be learned, genuine, valuable lessons to be learned, which you can carry with you for the rest of your life if you're a young person. Just from the models that you can buy, the outfits that you can get, the masks, and some of those very nice plates with the Starship Enterprise on them. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's our pick of the week. It's Star Trek. What do you say? I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Anna Rayburn. 5 days a week on Talk Radio.
Although we still like to get married, more and more of us face the consequences of what goes wrong in a marriage, which may lead to separation and divorce. There's a whole vocabulary surrounding the ending of marriages that we often wield without understanding what the words involve. For example, what is mediation? How can we minimize the harm to children we now know often occurs when a relationship ends? What can we expect, and more importantly, not expect, from counsellors, solicitors, and the courts themselves? And then we have the open lines, which offer you a chance to share your trouble in the pious hope of halving it.
Anna Rayburn, live and direct, this evening from 7 on Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Excuse-moi, où est the WC? Pardon? Ladies? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Toilet!
Oh, the toilette? The Louvre! Ah, la Louvre! Oh.
Don't panic if diarrhea threatens to spoil your holiday. Nothing stops diarrhea faster than Diacalm Ultra. So before you get stuck between the Louvre and... Ask your pharmacist for Diacalm Ultra, because nothing stops diarrhea faster. Diacalm Ultra contains loperamide. Always read the label.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation.
Matthew's called the programme from Bradford. You're on Talk Radio, Matthew. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
Jolly. Oh, I can't grumble. Just relaxing and doing some house cleaning, like you do.
Yeah?
What I like to say is...
Yes?
Star Trek is science fiction. Important word there, fiction. It's only fiction. It's not supposed to be real.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, couldn't agree with you more.
Right. Okay, so it's only a reflection of real life. It's not supposed to be real life itself. Having said that, this is a rather silly fact. It is a fact. The only language dictionary with accompanying tapes to get into the bestseller lists is the Klingon dictionary.
Yes.
Sad but true.
Yes.
Yes, and yes, guilty as charged. I have actually got that dictionary.
Tragic.
I don't know if you've been told that I actually write the quizzes for Leeds Starfleet. We're a group who meet in Leeds every month. A lot of us come in Star Trek uniform.
Oh.
Yes, we're sad. We admit it. No problem. You sound as if you're in pain.
I am. It's just the thought of such an evening.
No, it's during the afternoon when everybody can get there. And
What do you mean you don't even meet at night?
No.
Nobody who's interesting meets in the afternoon.
Well, we think we're interesting,
But you should meet about 2 a.m. then. For a start, in the afternoon, dressed as Star Trek people.
12 o'clock while 5 o'clock in Leeds. I mean, please come down and join us. St. Amy House, just across from the cinema. It's every second Sunday in the month.
Why do apparently intelligent, sensitive people like yourself get so infatuated with this gobbledygook?
I wouldn't call it gobbledygook. It seems to make some sort of meaning to us.
Yes, that's the problem, isn't it? You said yourself it's fiction, and at the same time you're using it as a signpost.
Okay, so it's not real life. We'll take that for granted. But we can watch it. There's little bits of life that we do recognise in there.
What?
There's little bits of humour.
What?
Well, relationships.
Star Trek is not funny.
That depends which episode you watch.
Well, you can laugh at it, but I mean, there are no jokes in it. There's no comedy.
There's quite a few. One of the funnier movies that Leonard Nimoy has directed, The Voyage Home. There was lots of jokes in that. I mean, he's directed other things, of course. He directed Three Men and a Baby, The Good Mother. That was a rather serious film, actually. But
and that's the other thing. You guys know loads of things that are irrelevant.
Well, is there anything... What's the difference between us knowing little bits and snippets about Star Trek and somebody being absolutely avid on Neighbours, knowing who was in which episode where and who said who to what when? Or people who are...
Now, look, that doesn't happen. You don't get Neighbours fans like that. Neighbours fans... No, you don't. You do not get Neighbours conventions. You do not get little characters. It's always men like you who like Star Trek. That's what I want to understand. I know who likes Neighbours. I know who likes Coronation Street. You can actually see somebody walking down the street and you could say, oh, he's an EastEnders fan, she's a Coronation Street fan. But we'd see you coming a mile off, Matthew, and we'd know that you're a Trekkie. Now, what are you?
Well, actually, I work in a leisure centre in Leeds.
Yeah.
Where it's got a bar, it's got lots of video games.
I know, but what are you searching for? What is there in Star Trek that gives you hope or salvation?
Oh, humour, little snippets of life, fictional life, of course.
Yeah. But the monsters aren't very good, are they?
It's escapism.
Escapism, I know, we know all that. We know all that. You see, Matthew, you don't know yourself as well as you know the fictional universe that is Star Wars, Star Trek. Well, all of it, really. I mean, can you think of anything from the world of science fiction that is any good, that has any substance, that really does begin to ask the right questions, never mind about provide a few answers? Is it good escapism? I don't think so. I don't think so. Whenever I'm watching Star Wars, which I mentioned accidentally a moment ago, I know that there's the Green Cross Code man underneath that black curtain. Simple as that. And that I find interesting. That is much more interesting than any of the ideas that are put forward in Star Wars, which, of course, is quite pagan, because it suggests that a man called Obi-Wan Kenobi is God. Oh, yes. And that Darth Vader himself turns into the devil. Oh, for sure. And that we owe our lives, our existence on this planet to what happened over at Tatooine, a galaxy far, far away, a long, long time ago. Funny, they banned Life of Brian in a lot of countries because it was considered anti-Christian. But everybody's, had one of those light phasers in their home that they've given to their child. Free call 0500 1053 89. Is any science fiction any good? No. From Communion, the Whitley Strieber thing about him being abducted, that book, all the way back to the Bible, which some people think is a work of science fiction. And I can see that argument. In fact, that's what I think. From the Men in Black, which is the current film, to, I don't know, the Quran. These effectively are all works of science fiction, aren't they? And should be seen and analysed as such. As soon as we start taking them seriously, too seriously, whether it is the Bible or whether it is Star Trek, that's when real problems begin. Jason calls from Hull. You're on Talk Radio. Jason, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello, Jason.
I'd just like to point out that you're absolutely wrong. I'm a member of Hull Starfleet, and we're taking over the entire planet. Trekkies aren't ordinary, Tommy. The better. Ordinary people will not be remembered, and we stand out. That's one good argument. Anything to say about that?
Yeah, you stand out because we don't know what to do with you, Jason. We want to give you a good shake, really, and say, oi, come on.
Tommy.
Get a life, get drunk, get a girlfriend.
It's not madness or lunacy or anything like that. I mean, Star Trek, it expands your horizons, gives you imagination, makes you diverse, gives us opinions. You know...
What opinions do you derive from Star Trek?
That we're not alone. There is more to this universe than our own planet. Religion's not the be-all and end-all of life. There are other religions out there. Take science, for example. It's taken... I reckon Star Trek's taken science in a different direction.
Oh, right.
I reckon
Such as
antimatter, which is one of the main concepts in science to get us out of our solar system. And basically, warp speed is scientifically proven that it could be a reality.
Oh, you know, you really saddened me with this taxi driver thing about it being a well-known fact or scientifically proven. What does scientifically proven mean? If your grounding in science is nothing more or less than Star Trek, you're simply not entitled to use the phrase.
I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, Tommy. I mean...
What does scientifically proven mean?
It means...
Which scientist? Where? Doing what? How? What was the result? What was the effort?
Last September, they created the first anti-hydrogen atom. It only lasted for a millionth of a second, but they proved that antimatter could exist.
Well, nobody denies that antimatter exists.
Pardon?
Nobody denies that. Nobody in their right mind has ever denied the concept of antimatter.
Yes,
Star Trek has absolutely no claim, no credential in that province at all. None whatsoever.
They're proving that it can exist.
Yes, but that's got nothing to do with Star Trek, which is a piece of nonsensical television pap. Isn't it?
Not at all. The truth is boring, Tommy. Imagination and fantasy, that's what it's all about.
Now you see, this is the problem, Jason, isn't it? You don't like your life. You don't like where you live or who you're with. You don't like reality.
I love my life, Tommy, but...
Reality's hard work, isn't it, Jason? You'd rather go up to your bedroom and watch videos of Star Trek than actually get on with your mum. Huh?
I think you're wrong on that.
Why don't you sit down at the kitchen tables next time you're going to waste an hour watching a Star Trek rerun, okay, and talk to a human being?
Tommy, why don't you go to a Star Trek convention, get some friends, watch some quality episodes, get yourself a life, put on a uniform, get yourself a communicator and beam yourself back to planet Earth?
What do you think life's for?
Well, it's not just to go out, get a job.
I didn't ask you what it isn't for. I asked you what it is for.
To expand, to excel yourself other than what you started off to be.
For what?
To become something more than you are.
For what?
What do you mean, for what?
Exactly. You see, you don't know the question, so how are you going to find the answer? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Everybody who likes Star Trek thinks that it's somehow significant, thinks that somehow...
This is Talk Radio. Free call 0500 10 53 89.
John calls from Northamptonshire. You're on Talk Radio, John. Hello.
Hi, I've just called in to express my disappointment with you, really.
Oh.
Yes. I mean, I occasionally watch Star Trek. I'm not a particularly big fan, but I'd like to know what you've got against these poor little Star Trek fans. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to distinguish between harm and offence, and these people aren't really hurting anyone. Who do you think you are to challenge these people's pleasures and tastes? The Book of Taste was left blank, mate, and there's not a single word there. Yeah, these people are not hurting anyone.
Sorry, the what tapes?
The Book of Taste.
The Book of Taste?
Yeah, was written blank. There's not a single word in it.
What are you talking about?
It's just an allegory.
I know.
Right. Basically,
why don't you make up your own? Why don't you make up your own stuff?
That is my own stuff.
What, the Book of Taste was left blank?
Yeah,
no, it's not.
It actually comes from a Latin saying, which is el libro de los gustos.
Well, it's not yours then, is it, you fool?
Listen, are you actually going to be insulting me the same as you're insulting everyone?
Well,
are you trying to up ratings?
Don't you
or are you actually being generally offensive? Because if that's the case, mate, what the hell are you doing in prime time?
Well, it's not prime time.
You wouldn't say this.
It's not prime time.
Well,
No, it's
it's
not.
about 3:46. People are going to be driving back home.
No, it's not prime time.
In about, what,
You don't know
15
anything.
minutes?
You don't know anything. You don't.
All right. So now you're just insulting what I know.
Well, I'm just telling you. If you think 2 to 4 in the afternoon is
Why are
prime
you
time,
being, I just would like to know why you're being so offensive to Trekkies or Trekkers or whatever they'd like to call themselves.
because they're plonkers.
They're plonkers.
Yeah.
And what gives you the right to say they're plonkers? What hobbies do you indulge in? Because let me know a few so I can actually rip into them myself. Let us know a bit more about your person.
Theosophy.
Philosophy?
No, theosophy.
Theosophy?
Yes.
The study of religions?
No.
What then?
God.
God?
Yes.
So you're interested in studying God? And what aspects of God are you interested in studying? And what particular religion?
All of them.
All of them?
Every single one.
All right, well, that's actually quite
Problem
an
with
interesting hobby.
Yeah. So,
well,
piss off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's been a bit offensive.
Not a problem to you.
No, not particularly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, are these people intruding on your own personal space?
Yes.
Are they actually harming you in any
Absolutely.
particular way? How?
Yes.
How?
Well, you work it out. Bearing in mind what
not for me to work out, it's for you to explain.
No, because people believe things if they work it out for themselves. You know what my hobby is, and you know what Star Trek obtains to.
Right.
So?
Listen, people enjoy Star Trek. They get
No. You asked me a question, and I believe you have the intelligence to work out the answer for yourself. Off you go.
So basically, you're asking me to explain what you have against people that like Star Trek?
Yes.
Okay. Right. People that like Star Trek are into escapism. They actually take it over the boundaries of taste sometimes. I admit that, yeah? It can be a bit offensive in the sense that you're walking down the street, you listen to some garble and you think, Christ, that was inane. But at the end of the day, these people aren't actually going out molesting your child. These people aren't really going out and breaking into your car and nicking your stereo. And these people aren't really infringing on your lifestyle, particularly in a harmful way.
No. I'm not concerned about myself. I'm concerned for them.
You're concerned for them?
Yes, I had to tell you that because I don't think you'd ever have got there.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough?
No, it's not fair enough.
Just as I'm concerned for anybody.
And why should you be concerned for them? At the end of the day, it's
why
their
should
lives.
I be? Why, no.
Do you actually drink or smoke?
I'm concerned for other people.
Do you
everybody.
drink or smoke?
I'm concerned for you.
Okay, that's fine. Do you drink or smoke?
Are you saying that I shouldn't be concerned for everybody?
I think you should be concerned. That's a very humanitarian thing. Wonderful.
That's
Do
what
you
I'm
drink
doing.
or smoke?
That's what I'm doing.
If you drink or smoke, I'm concerned for your health.
Good, I'm glad. I drink and smoke
Right.
to excess. I do everything to excess.
Drinking and smoking are abolished, and people that drink and smoke are idiots, and that includes me.
Yes.
Right? Everybody should be entitled to live their life happily and freely, as long as they're not harming anyone.
Wait 1 second,
What
if you would.
right have you got in order to infringe upon their particular space in such a major way as to insult them?
Because I care about them.
No, I don't think so. That doesn't really stick.
Well, it might be inconvenient to you,
No,
but it's a fact. I'd rather they read a good book than watch the... I'd rather they read
reading a good book is constructive.
than
but at
watch
end
The
of
Trouble
day,
with Tribbles.
People don't want to... Well, Trouble with Tribbles. Okay, that was really puerile, and I admit that. But at the end of the day...
Oh, you're a Star Trek fan?
No, actually...
You
watched
are a
that
Trekkie,
particular
aren't you?
episode. My dad introduced me to it.
Shh, shh. And did you know that he splits the infinitive when he starts the programme because you cannot say to go boldly? Honestly.
No,
oh, Johnny
sorry, I missed
boy,
out on
Johnny
that
boy,
one.
Johnny boy.
Listen, but my
And by
query-
the way, I'm quite entitled to damage my physical self because that's not what I care about.
What
my
do you care
physical
about? Your
self.
spiritual self.
Yeah.
Yes, but these people could be having
Really having to lead you down the
spiritual
road.
experiences while watching Star Trek. At the end of the day, it's, well, hold
and
on,
you've
hold on,
arrived.
hold on,
No, you've
hold on.
arrived. You've arrived. I'm sorry. You've arrived centre stage. Now you are actually in the ring with me. Yes.
Okay,
Do you believe that there is anything of any substance in Star Trek?
I do.
Yes.
To
And what
a
is
certain
that?
extent.
What?
I mean, at the end of the day, Star Trek is very much a soap. It's a slight mirror of reality. Each character that I've actually seen, I mean, I haven't watched that many episodes, but I've noticed that there have been a development. I remember watching the first series some time back of The Next Gen, and I thought, oh, that wasn't very good. And then I watched it further on, I thought, oh, look, these people actually have developed. They've got like a kind of personality. They've got quirks and things. And that's interesting, the way the personalities develop. At the end of the day, there's something that people can learn by watching others, and that's true. And I suppose, yes, they're actually making some parody of reality to an extent, and people absorb that. They take it in. I mean, obviously, we have seen the damage it can cause because people do get obsessed with things like this, but people get obsessed with anything.
That's the problem. Now, what's your favourite episode?
don't really have a favourite episode.
I like the one where he gets... they send Kurt down onto that planet and he has to fight with that lizard.
I haven't really watched the first series very much. I only watched 2 or 3 episodes. But I like the ones with the Borg, the ones that simulate things and the cold. I mean, at the end of the day, the philosophy behind that can be quite interesting. It can be quite encapsulating because at the end of the day, they're saying that this is a society that's actually headed towards just eradication of personality and the eradication of likes and dislikes. You're just the one organism, and you work as an entity, right? One organic entity, and that is actually quite an interesting thing because that kind of thing is happening in society. I mean, look at things like McDonaldization.
Now, steady on here because I can't afford them.
Okay, all right.
Fair enough.
No,
now, listen to me. You're an extremely intelligent young man, and one day you'll be quite a wise young man, and as a result of that, I forgive you your rudeness.
All right.
I've got to press on because I've got to beam up a few more people onto the argument, but, John, I've enjoyed listening to you.
It's been a pleasure. Cheers.
Till the next time. Free call 0500 10 53 89. This is Taff in South Shields. You're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tommy.
Taff.
A very great writer by the name of Isaac Asimov once said that you need an above-average intelligence to enjoy and appreciate
science fiction. Yeah, well, he would do, wouldn't he? Because he wrote it.
Well, yeah, but he also wrote a lot of science fact. A lot of his books...
I'm sure Delia Smith says the same about cookery books.
A lot of people have used his groundbreaking, him and others like Arthur C. Clarke with the bank card, the swipe card.
Well, that's no good either, Arthur C. Clarke.
But what the bottom line here with you is you are belittling a whole... genre.
Yes.
Because you have the incapability to understand what joy it can bring people with a modicum of intelligence.
There's nothing to understand, mate.
Of course there is.
No,
when you're talking about, you tried to draw an analogy between the Bible and Star Trek.
Yes, that's an interesting idea.
You're reading far too much into it. And then you
what, the Bible?
Yeah,
probably.
Into Star Trek.
Oh, right, sorry.
You're trying to give this some sort of spiritual connotation, when all it really is doing, as many callers have said, is trite little morals. I mean, you got that Jane Marie ridiculing the whole system. She'd be far more interested in...
We don't mind trite little morals, Taff.
Well, I know we don't.
Well, what form of television isn't trite little morals?
Yes, but you then go on to banter semantics about To Boldly Go. I mean, if you want to argue semantics, let's look at something like the EastEnders or any of the other soaps where they talk pure drivel.
Yeah, but people don't think that when they watch an EastEnders, or what else is there? What other dramas?
Are you trying to say that people take Star Trek far too seriously and that makes them sad? Because
exactly, Taffy. I couldn't have put it better, although I have done a few moments ago.
Yeah, but you get fans of all sorts of shows. You get people going around the set of Emmerdale. We've all got our own little.
But they don't. No, but wait. They don't regard it as a quasi-religious beacon.
Yes, they do. They send.
Not Emmerdale.
People send. Condolence cards to people who die on the Arches.
I know a woman who's the head of the Emmerdale fan club, and she's not bonkers like Star Trekkies.
Well, whatever Trek. Actually, I always.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.